prove you have any sort of system, that you aren't just arbitrarily setting up checkpoints and pulling people out that are brown or Asian or black. Prove that you have citizenship, that you're checking, that you're making sure you're not taking citizens. Prove that you're not jumping people at work and setting up checkpoints as people just try to drive home to their neighborhoods.
Things got real heated on Abby Phillip's show when Dr. Cornel West, Leigh McGowan, and Abby Phillip went head-to-head with MAGA mouthpiece Ben Ferguson, easily one of the worst examples of what that movement keeps putting forward. We're going to break down clips from this panel featuring Ben Ferguson, Cornel West, and the rest of the group, and I'll share my own thoughts along the way. Trust me, this one is worth your time. You do not want to miss it, so make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it together.
Are average Americans wrong to still feel high prices, and how much longer does the White House hope that they?
So I think a lot of people are listening to the fake news a little bit, and I'm not blaming anybody. I think I blame ourselves. I think we've done a much better job than we're able to promote. We're not promoting. We're doing a great job, and we're sort of letting the promotion take care of itself.
At what point will there be an acknowledgement that Americans are seeing what's happening and they're not liking it?
Well, the president, I think, also said that, I think it was the New York Times today, that in some instances things can be handled better and they need to look at it. I think while the public has a perception and some of the approval might be down there, they still trust Republicans and the president by a 28-point margin on the issue of immigration and the border of handling this. And the reason why is because we saw a press conference, and let's table for a second whether we agree with tactics or how they're doing it. We saw a press conference today hitting ICE and the law enforcement officials who are keeping these communities safe. I don't recall seeing any of those individuals do a press conference when innocent American citizens were killed by dangerous, illegal cartel members, gang members, things like that. And so there's a reason here, and the Democrat Party can cry all they want about how things, there are situations that can be better, 100%. And the president acknowledged that. What can't be denied is that we are in this situation because Democrats under the Biden administration sat back and let this happen for 4 years. We've had 8 months where not one illegal immigrant has crossed over the border, and that's because of the Trump administration.
I hear what you're saying, but the problem is, you see, it's not a question of Democrats versus Republicans. It's a question of the truth. Choice. The question of the truth. Neither one of the parties want to tell the truth. So if you two just want to continually be preoccupied with being parasitic on the Democrats, we can talk about the Democrats till the cows come home. They might have little to do with truth, little to do with justice. When you're terrorizing and traumatizing a people who are disproportionately chocolate, of course it's racist. Of course it is.
True or false?
What's that, bro?
Did we allow millions of people unvetted into this country, many of them who are criminals, rapists, child molesters, child rapists, murderers, gangbangers, people killing people with fentanyl, bringing in a little drugs?
How long is your question going to go, brother?
Well, it's a long list.
I think you got enough. I think you got enough.
Well, when you let 10 million, 15 million into this country.
Let me tell you what my answer is. Let me tell you what my answer is.
You've got a problem, and you guys did that.
Let me tell you what my answer is, though, Brother Ben.
Abby?
What is it?
That there's no doubt that the Democrats did, in fact, were a colossal failure when it came to immigration. That's a fact. But the other truth is this, though. Let me finish now, brother. Don't just keep your flow coming out of University of Mississippi now.
All right, Dr. West. Everybody keep their hands to themselves at the table, please.
I love this man.
No.
I love this man.
You know I wasn't going to start swinging on you, man. You know that. But it is a rhetorical swing, because the fact is this. If every immigrant disappeared in America tomorrow, which makes it a distraction now to talk about immigrants, we still have poverty. We still have deep conflict, class, racial conflict.
You'd have a lot less crime.
Well,
you'd have a lot less crime.
A lot of Native Americans. A lot of Americans.
You'd have a lot less crime.
But no, it's all a distraction. It's all a distraction.
I don't think there's really much evidence at all for that, including
Tell
that
to the families who have had problems for children.
No, brother.
There is crime that happens. There's crime that is committed by immigrants, and there's crime that's committed by
What's the number of murders that then would you go to say that's a bad issue?
Immigrants can commit crimes at a lower rate than native-born Americans. That's a fact.
Tell that to any family members had someone killed by an illegal immigrant.
I think that what I'm hearing a lot is the Democrats, Biden. Dr. West explained that. And I think the thing is, it's not political to say that we don't want murderers in our country. We don't want pedophiles in our country. We want those people identified and we want those people punished.
And why are you not working with ICE to get rid of them?
Hold on a second.
Just
No, but it's a fair question.
Hold on a second. Just let her.
And you
No, but you just said you want to get rid of them, but you don't work with ICE.
Let's let her make her point so we can understand what she's trying to say. Go ahead.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Leigh.
We all want that, okay? And if Donald Trump wants to get on TV and say, our problem is we haven't highlighted our accomplishments enough, I would say, great, highlight your accomplishments. Prove it. Prove you are getting the worst of the worst. Show us the murderers and the rapists and the killers that you are arresting. Stop yourself. Then tell us you're not rounding up.
With the
you can't stop yourself, man.
Hang on a second.
Zip it.
Please.
No, I'm sorry, you're not my mom. And second of all, you don't get to make it up. We've had the posters at the White House, the people that have been arrested. You said, show them to me. We have showed them to you.
Ben, just a second.
You don't like it.
Ben, just a second. I'll say the one thing, and then I'm going to let her finish. They have released a short list of names, but they've also claimed that they've arrested thousands of murderers and rapists and criminals. They have not released the full list of thousands of alleged murderers, rapists, and criminals.
I want to pause for just a moment here, because Abby Phillip is 100% correct, and she gives the exact response that should always be used when dealing with MAGA figures like Ben Ferguson. The facts are clear. Immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than native-born citizens. That's not controversial. It's backed by data. And honestly, it makes complete sense. People who are trying to stay under the radar, people living in the shadows, often being exploited and paid illegally, are not looking to draw attention to themselves. Of course, they're going to commit fewer crimes than people who don't have that fear hanging over them. And let me be clear. This isn't even saying these are people who would commit crimes otherwise. There is zero evidence supporting the constant Republican propaganda that immigrants are out here committing waves of crime. It's just not true. Like they point out in this exchange, if ICE were really rounding up violent criminals, we'd be hearing about it 24/7. But we're not seeing drug cartels being busted. We're not seeing mass arrests of murderers or gang leaders. What we're seeing are regular people, going about their daily lives, often citizens and even children, being swept up. At this point, it's completely indefensible. People like Ben Ferguson aren't serious commentators, they're propagandists. They always need a group to demonize, to other, and right now that target is immigrants. Tomorrow, it'll be someone else. They just rotate the boogeyman whenever it's convenient. But the American people see what's happening, and they know it's wrong, no matter how many Ben Fergusons or Scott Jennings they throw on TV to sell it. And as a quick aside, let me know in the comments. As bad as Scott Jennings is, and we've learned recently that a lot of his routine is basically an act, like professional wrestling, Ben Ferguson feels different. Unless he's an Academy Award-level actor, it's hard to believe anyone could be this smug and this weaselly on purpose. So drop it in the comments. Who do you think is worse, Scott Jennings or Ben Ferguson?
So there are a couple of issues here. I mean, obviously, Dr. West, there's the rhetorical question of should it be abolish ICE or should it be something else? But then there's the question that Kristen brought up, which is just because what Trump is doing is unpopular doesn't mean that Democrats are trusted on the issue. How do they find a way to actually have a message on immigration? And should that message be abolish ICE in your view?
Well, I mean, I ran the presidential candidacy based on abolishing ICE and poverty and a lot of other things. And my argument was that if you don't have strong mechanisms of accountability to make sure that people are being treated humanely as human beings and as citizens, then you don't need to have that particular institution. And there's an intimate relation between raw imperialism abroad with no regard for international law or human rights and escalating raw fascism at home with private armies and secret police with no accountability whatsoever. Nobody goes in and treats people the way they do unless they feel that they have immunity, unless they feel that they can get away with it. And in history, black folk really lays that out. Slavery, Jim Crow, police brutality in black community. What?
Did you get rid of police too, though?
Never. Not at all. I want accountability.
Then you're different than Mandani. So that's good.
Well, no, but I tell you about Brother Soran. I tell him this. He's got a police commissioner who not only was a little bit too open to stop and frisk, and many of us went to jail for that, but she also has the role of providing surveillance and data to ICE. So you can't, on the one hand, appear as if you're a sanctuary city and then have a police commissioner.
Let me get Elliot's view on this, because Elliot has also, you understand this agency well. I think that what ICE has been doing, how they have been transformed now, has made the agency actually very different. I mean,
of course,
doing traffic stops, just sort of stopping people on the street and forcing them to show their papers is not what ICE was doing 5 years ago.
A couple things. Now, the brand of the agency is largely toxic now. And just by way of comparison, in 2018, the top customs enforcement officials at ICE, many of them, remember, it's immigration and customs enforcement, literally wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security asking to be broken off as a separate agency just because they didn't want to be associated with the immigration side of the House because of how politically polarizing and toxic and problematic it is. But I want to pick up on one thing that Professor West had said. It's not, because you used the word accountability, and what's missing here, and certainly what we had through my 4 years there from both Democratic and Republican Congresses, was a Congress that was willing to look critically at the things that ICE and the rest of DHS was doing. Congress isn't doing that now. There's a very rare issue. The Epstein files seem to be the one thing where Congress has really sort of held the administration's feet to the fire, but there really are not critical questioning or hearings or anything from.
But here's the thing that I think is that it's important. ICE is not having to do what you're watching in Minneapolis, for example, and other cities that cooperate with ICE and work with them on detainers for illegal immigrants that are in jail who have committed crimes. If you don't want this type of, as you described it, chaos or anarchy or law enforcement that worries you, there's a real easy way to fix it. There's about, 200-300 cities in America that cooperate with ICE. And you don't have any of this there.
So you don't have any of it there.
But you also don't have 2,000 ICE or Border Patrol officials anywhere else in the nation other than in Minneapolis.
You didn't have the
and on top of that, hold on a second, there were sanctuary cities under Biden, under Obama, under Trump 1. We did not see this happening. And to add to that, look, ICE raids, controversial, always have been, always will be.
Not really.
I think
when Obama was doing it, wasn't controversial.
Certainly,
you guys did right along.
Yes, I did.
Hold on.
There was tape of CNN celebrating it, talking about how brave they were.
I had a critique, a strong critique, though, brother.
Okay, but that's
there was a lot of controversy around Trump, around Obama's ICE raids. But here's the thing that's really seems to be getting to Minneapolis residents, but also people like, this is former Congressman Justin Amash, a former Republican congressman. He says, abolish ICE. What we've seen recently isn't immigration enforcement, it's state-sponsored terrorism. They should not exist. They're using the context of immigration as a pretext to sidestep constitutional limits, warrants due process transparency that protect us all from government abuses. It is the masks. It is the random stops. It is the where are your papers? We're going to hold you until we're able to use facial recognition technology to determine whether you're a citizen or not. Those are the things that people like Amash, a libertarian, a constitutionalist type of person, is deeply uncomfortable with. And a lot of Americans might be as well.
I think that one's a flawed example, with all due respect to former congressman. He's looking for a way to be relevant. He's using this to do it. I think you both said some really great.
Possible?
So you made a really great point early, and so did you.
Principle,
that ICE looks a lot different than it did 5 years ago, and thank God it does, because 5 years ago we had a huge immigration crisis in this country where people were
millions flooding in
over the border. So I'm so happy ICE looks different than it did 5 years ago, because it wasn't working.
So you're comfortable with ICE officers walking around masked and stopping?
To your point.
Okay.
The mask is
hold on.
No.
All right. So we got that answer. Masks.
When it comes to safety,
inquiring about citizens.
I agree with President Trump.
What are we supposed to travel with our birth certificates now? What's the deal?
I haven't seen that implemented anywhere, but I do agree with the president that there are situations.
I've seen it.
I've seen it.
I didn't bring my birth certificate.
We've all seen it.
Hold on, you've done a ride-along where they're saying, show me your birth certificate?
This is a classic.
This is breaking news.
Who at this table has seen ICE or border officials asking people
For
to
documentation.
show documentation of citizenship or where they were born.
Hold on. Do we have a single do we have a single camera of anybody, a body cam that says, show me your birth certificate? This is how fake news happened.
Ben, have you seen evidence of ICE asking people to
for
show
documentation
evidence of their
documentation? Yes.
For documentation of their citizenship of where they were born. Have you
if
seen
you
it?
don't
It's
have
a yes
papers,
or no. It's a yes or no
that's
question.
a normal thing to ask for documentation. Here it is.
It is not normal, and it should never be normalized, for people to be stopped on the street and asked to show documentation. Once again, what you're hearing from Ben Ferguson and Kristen Davis here is nothing but propaganda. And honestly, imagine thinking what's happening in Minnesota is somehow a good thing. Masked agents roaming the streets, pulling people out of their cars, smashing windows, tackling teenagers. Just the other day, there was a story about a teenage brother and sister being jumped by ICE. So many agents on top of them that you can barely even see the kids in the video. We've all seen the footage of the young boy detained all by himself. At this point, it's completely indefensible. People like Ben Ferguson are on the wrong side of history here. No one would have an issue if ICE were actually targeting violent, hardened criminals, but they keep lying and claiming Democrats want those criminals roaming free because somehow they think they'll vote for them. That's nonsense. No one wants that. And if you watch what people in Minnesota are posting, especially on TikTok, you'll see video after video of folks in Minneapolis saying the same thing. Whatever you've seen on the news, it's worse in real life. People are afraid to go to the grocery store. They're afraid to go out to eat. They're afraid to send their kids to school. And we've seen more than enough evidence of citizens being dragged out of their cars. Not violent gang members, not drug traffickers, not whatever caricature Ben Ferguson is trying to sell. This really is a line in the sand moment in this country. You're either on the side that opposes what's happening, or you're standing with Ben Ferguson and the rest of these MAGA extremists. So let me know what you think. Do you agree with what Ben Ferguson is saying on Abby Phillip's CNN show? Or do you agree with Cornel West and Leigh McGowan that it's time for this to end? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.